guys, welcome back. It's Diana. Today I want to go ahead and talk to you guys about the next book in Jamie Magee's series, The Web of Hearts and Souls. This one is actually part of the Rivulet series, and this one is titled Rivulet. So this one starts off, I guess, because Phoenix was introduced to us, and he's actually Guardian's brother, and he's a Phoenix, obviously. But they call him Phoenix, but his real name is actually Sebastian. So it takes place around him and his soulmate, who is actually Genevieve. In this book, it actually starts off with, they call her Indy, but her name is Genevieve Indy Falcon. So they call her Indy in this book, and she's actually a part of a family. It starts off with that she lost her parents and 5 of her sisters. Her mom and dad are actually really wealthy, and they started this whole I guess foundation or whatever, where they adopt children who need help. They're foster parents. They teach them, and they actually make them better people into the community. So they're basically, their goal in life is to help these children have better lives. So Indy actually was supposed to go on this boat trip, and her sister ended up not going after all, and the boat crashed, and 5 of her sisters and her mom and her dad were killed. So she's actually supposed to have a guardian. Her grandma is supposed to be her legal guardian, but something happened to her grandma and she's in a coma, not in a coma, but she had a stroke and she's not well enough to take care of her. So her Aunt Celia is kind of taking on that role. But Indy doesn't really trust Aunt Celia. She doesn't trust her at all. She thinks that she has an ulterior motive. She thinks she's a gold digger, and she's just there for the money or whatever. She's not there for the right reasons. So she never really embraces her. She stays on her side of her house, and Indy and her sister stay on the other side of the house, and it's kind of like separately. But this whole story is kind of like a battle. Something comes up, and Aunt Celia is trying to take everything away from Indy. She's trying to prove that she's not fit, that she's still grieving for her family, and she does not have the mind frame to control her own estate. So obviously there's a battle, and there's definitely something underneath this thing. So there's a lot of so I guess I should say, I don't know if I should tell you this, but I'm going to anyways. So that it basically takes place, the whole story takes place in the Vale. We think it's real life. We think this is actually going on, but Indy and her friends were actually in a car crash, and they're in the hospital on life support. So this whole story takes place in the Vale, and it's all just their souls going through their last day of life. They keep reliving it, and they're trying to find out what can they do to try and keep Aunt Celia from taking over everything. So that's kind of interesting. It's kind of like a Groundhog Day type thing. They keep reliving the same day. But they're doing different things until they realize that this isn't real. Guardian does come into this book as well, but Sebastian is actually brought in with Skyland because Skyland has always been with Indy. She's kind of like her guardian angel. She says they're kind of really good friends. So she brings Sebastian in, and he's really upset with her because he's kept Indy away from him, and that's his soulmate. He thought he was never going to find her again. So there's a whole battle between whether Indy should become a phoenix or if she should just die and pass on and come back to and relive another life, and he'll find her again. So there's a whole battle going on with that. We have to deal with their feelings and their emotions and all their mind frame of that. Indy does end up having some really good friends who are going to be a bigger part of this story. I do really like that. So I like the way, I really love the way Jamie actually, in every single character that she brings in, she doesn't just say, here they are, take them, but what she does is she builds a whole story around those characters, and she actually makes you understand where they're coming from, how they feel, their background. And that's what she really did with Indy's story. It made you kind of understand who she is and how she feels. You know what I mean? She's really good at introducing new characters, letting you get to know them, fall in love with those characters, and then she submerges them into a whole big story, into the whole Web of Hearts stories. So I do really, really like this book. I did read, this is the second time that I'm reading these books, because I read them the first time and it was kind of confusing because I guess they were, of course she has to write them, so they're kind of written farther apart from each other, so you kind of forget what happened in this book without having to read the whole book. But now that I'm reading them all again back to back, you kind of are able to see how all the books combine together, and I'm understanding it a lot better. So if you haven't read these books, I would definitely read them because they are really, really interesting, and it won't confuse you now that you're reading them all close together, because there's a lot of elements to each of these stories But yeah, I really, really do enjoy these, and Indy is becoming one of my favorite characters. I do really like her in this story because she's a really good character. But until next time, enjoy the adventure.